Okay, welcome back to Vintage Steel Garage. Not so vintage today. Working on a neighbour's Discovery 4. In fact, I'm not even sure what year it is. It's too new for me. Might even be 14 plate, I'm not sure. Anyway, they've got a problem where the wipers weren't working. Basically the wiper arms, which I've removed here, were simply just flopping around. It wasn't connected to the mechanism. So what I've done, I started working on this and then decided I'd do a little short video because it may be helpful for people with similar problems. So the symptom was basically the wipers stopped working, but you could get hold of them and you could just move them around like that, the two of them independently, so you know there's something gone wrong with the linkage. So what I've had to do is undo the wiper bolts, which is a nut here and a spline. I'll show you in the reverse when I put it back together. So I took the nut off, that's on a spline, so you just need to tap it carefully with a cloth around it and wiggle it to get it off. That was the hardest bit. And then the trim plate, which is this, which goes over the bottom of the windscreen, the scuttle panel. It's just a little bit of plastic and it's just on these clips at the back here. So it's just simply a case of getting your fingers down the side here where the windscreen is, on this bit here, and pulling it off, and that came off easy. Once that was off, so now I've got the scuttle panel off, you can see what's actually happened is the pivot here is pulled out. This is on the motor and this is like the hands of a clock, so this will just go round like that, and then this transfers it to a sideways motion, which then makes these go round. So what I needed to do is take this out because you can't work on it in the car. It's quite simple, it's just two bolts, one bolt here, one bolt at the far end, and then the whole lot. Disconnect the electrical connection there, the whole lot will lift out. So we'll take it to the bench and have a look there. So now I've got it on the bench, you can see what's happened is the knuckle has pulled out the back. That's just some sort of push fit in that hole there, and that hole is actually worn, elongated. There's also some damage on the back where it's been rubbing. So for some reason that's pulled out of there, that's a pressed fit and the hole's elongated. So I think what I'm going to do, it doesn't need to pivot in there, I'm going to push it back in and put a little tack weld on the back to hold it in place. So I just need to get this is just like a little swivel knuckle, so I need to get that out. Because I think what will happen is, you can see how it works, this goes around clockwise, these then move like this and transfer that to a motion on there, which make the wipers move. So what I need to do is take this knuckle out, because what I don't want to do is put a little snot weld on the back of it, a little tack weld I should say, on the back of it, and then melt the plastic bush in here. There's a little plastic bush in there that would get melted. So what I'm going to do is push that out in the vise and see if I can then get it a nice fitting into here and give it a weld in place. So just so let's see if we get this out of here. Right, so it's just on this little clip. I think I'd like to go over it. So there's the knuckle come out. So that there just get it to focus. That is a little pin that's come out, and that's the cause of the problem. That has come out of the arm on the motor. So let me see if I can get that to go back in. I'm just going to degrease it. It's not going to weld too well with grease all over it. And then I can ascertain how tight a fit that is in that hole. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this off here, and I've got better access. We're just going to mark its orientation. In case that's important. I forgot to show that, but basically I just tapped that off there. It was on a spline, you can see it's on a spline, so I just tapped it off, so that has now actually come off. So I can now work in this better in the vise and see if I can press this back into here. But can you see these scratches here? I'm wondering if something's been rubbing, caused this and then kick this out, and that's the origin of the problem. So I've got to understand what that could have been scraping on. Doesn't seem to be scraping on anything here. There's a bit of a scrape there. Maybe the top arm fell off first, touched behind it. There is some damage on that arm, which would explain that maybe that fell off, fell there, this came down and kicked that out, and it was a sort of a knock-on effect. So I'm going to carry on, push that back into there, get it in square, see what we can do. Doing now, you can see it's just not seated completely flush. There's a little gap there, so I think that sits out proud, but of course can't do that in the vise, you're squeezing it. So a tip to put a socket on the back like that, and then that will push into there. There. So that's gone fully in, but you can see it is a bit of a slack fit now. So what I'm going to do is just put a weld on the back of that just to hold that in place. Just clean that up with a grinder just to get it a good clean bond all the way around, and then run a weld around there. So I'll just get my grinder out. Right, so I've got my welder set up, clean this off, I'm going to make sure that's tight up and put a couple of little tacks around there just to hold it in place. Right, so that's in properly now, a little weld on the back. Just going to let that cool down before I reassemble it, because obviously it'll melt the bush otherwise. I'll probably just give it a coat of paint on the back just to protect it. Okay, so I've welded this, painted it on the back, it's now ready to reassemble. So I'll put that back on there, lining up with that mark I had. Put the M8 nut on, tighten that up. There we go. Now there was some grease in here, so I'm going to make sure I get this grease back in place. So this one's on first. Let's just push that down. There we go. That was in between there, and this final one pushes on there. Simple as that. Right, we're back together there now. So that's looking good there. That mechanism's back together. So let's get it back on the car and see how that looks. So we're now back at the car. Reverse refitting is just a reverse. So first of all, connect the electrical connection. Slip the assembly into place. It just picks up onto M10 bolts, so one here and one over here. Seems to be a bit of a locating pin at the back as well. I haven't got that in properly. You can see there's a little grommet higher up that it rests on as well, so that's now back in place. So it's 3 points it picks up on. A grommet high up here that is just a peg that pushes in, and these two bolts. Nip those up. Right, so that's back in place, electrical plug on. Let's give it a test, see what that looks like. So there we are. Got the mechanism going round, that seems to be working okay. So this pivot here sorted itself out, that's looking good. We'll try it on full speed, see what that does. Obviously there's no load on them at the moment, but it looks okay. Looks like it's not going to fall apart. Right, let's turn it off, get the trim plate back on. Right, so what we can do now, we can start putting the trim plate back on and all the rubber seals, get the wiper arms back on. They should now be in the park position, so it should self-center. So let me show you how that goes on. So this is the trim piece to go back on. I'm just going to make sure at this end it goes underneath the windscreen scuttle panel. Like that. That's that lined up there. Line the other end up and then pull that trim back down. That's all that back into place. Rubber bonnet seal on. So all the trim's back on, all clipped in, the rubber seals on, we can start to put the wiper arms back on. So these were in the park position. I'm just going to try that there. Just in time for the rain to start. Right, that one there. Those nuts on. Just going to nip it first of all, just want to make sure that the wipers park in the correct place. Right, so let me try that and see what that does. Okay, there's the key. Something not quite right there, was there? So there we go, all working. Simple fix, total cost, 0, which is how I like to do it. Put the caps back on, take it back across to my neighbour, and I think everyone's going to be happy. So excellent, thanks for watching, hope this helps other people.